This is Garrett Fry, the Cityscape Sequence Lead for 3D Digital Map Painting, and we're taking a look at shot F100. So we're following the train in this shot and going off to the right. What we're going to be doing with this shot, as with the other shots, is that this needs to look like a different city. So the first step that you can go through is pick out some of the iconic buildings. Like this guy's pretty iconic, and you can get rid of him. And this guy here is pretty nondescript, so he can probably stay, which is okay. So for this, the guideline that we've been given is that we could change up to 50% of the city just to make it look like a different city. So I would be careful to not do too much work, because that's the note. You don't want to overkill on you're not completely changing this thing. You're just touching it in a way that makes it feel like a different city. So in the midst of all of that, you can add additional buildings. When you are adding additional buildings in here, you need to be conscious of the scale of the buildings. And the biggest indicator of scale on buildings is window size. So you can see these windows are really quite a bit larger than something down here, and you can count the floors on this. So I would do that with your buildings. If you're putting something in there that you're counting how many floors, and you're like, oh, that's a 60-story building, then it should look like a 60-story building, and it shouldn't be, you have a 5-story building that's really large in scale, and you're just kind of like plugging it up there. So you want to make sure that you have the right window size. It wouldn't do to have a larger window in back of something that has a smaller window, right? If that's the case, then it needs to be moved up to the front and be in front of this building. So in addition to adding buildings throughout here, you're gonna need to replace this building. This building is a really beautifully done building, and so what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to replace it with an equally as beautiful building. It needs to be different, but equally as beautiful. But you have all the information you need in this plate to guide you, to let you know what that building needs to look like. So you have an idea of the specular color level that it needs to be, and you can tell that it ramps off here, that it's really bright, and it goes down here. With both of these, you know what the fill color and value is, and so you have all the information that you need here in order to do that, to replace it with an equally as good building. So the other shot that you need to consider while you're doing this is F101. So these two shots share the same location, and so it's just a little bit different on the perspective, and so that's something that you're going to have to accommodate for as well. It's not the same exact perspective, so you have to figure them out on both shots, and you'll have to use the same image reference for both of those. Make sure that before you jump into these shots, you download the image library. The image library consists of nearly 500 raw images. That's 2.27 gigs of buildings from 5 different cities from around the world: Sydney, Wellington, Adelaide, San Francisco, and New Orleans. So there's a huge variety of buildings to choose from. The photo reference includes buildings under all different lighting conditions and angles, so it pays off to familiarize yourself with the materials you're going to use to successfully execute these shots.